Hey everybody, happy holidays. I want to check out some comments that have gone up on my channel over the last few months that I haven't gotten a chance to respond to yet, or I wanted to give a more detailed response. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm so grateful for all of the engagement on my channel this year, and I'm really looking forward to what we do next year. On my Vice Hates Manga video, check that video out by the way, I fucking hate Vice. Patch says, by the way, doujins aren't adult manga. It's a name that is given to manga from independent creators. Though most of it is hentai. Yeah, that's you kind of answered it in your comment. I'm not really a semantics kind of guy. I'm not going to argue over terminology if I understand what the person is saying, but I also understand that certain language you don't use for videos that you're hoping will maybe go somewhat viral. And case in point, that video did okay for my channel standards, and I'm not going to use certain terms that are just going to like alienate people. I think topics like this that have to do with anime and manga can definitely hit the mainstream, but when you start using like dojin and hentai and you start using certain words, normies are just going to get confused and not really be into the topic. So yeah, dude, I know what hentai is, but let's just leave it at that. Good old pal Ingalls says, like. Yeah, I don't really edit videos. Not really. It's not my thing. This channel is not where you come for like super clean, squeaky, well-structured conversation. I just get ripped and start speaking into a camera, so it's kind of up to you guys to figure out what I'm trying to say. Sometimes I do edit out like certain things of mistakes that I say, or if I say like a lot, but like from what I've learned in my job, a lot of times to keep engagement, you want to leave in those little mistakes. You don't have to do a lot of ADR depending on what the kind of topic is. And you'll see it in your analytics when people rewind and they're always going back to when you stutter or stammer. So for anyone who has like a speech impediment, don't feel bad about it. Don't try to edit too much of it out as well in the video if you feel it's going to change the tonality of what you're trying to voice. Just put it out there. Marvin Tinky says, I was always drawn towards older anime. For some reason, despite really starting with newer animes, well, I didn't watch anime in my childhood, but I didn't know it was anime. But finding out about old animes that nobody talks about, it's like finding some ancient hidden treasure. I also started watching Lupin the Third. While it shows its age, it's definitely an enjoyable series so far. While I can see how some much older series don't seem that interesting to watch for a modern audience, there is something absolutely great to be found. Yeah. Old anime is great. I don't understand modern anime fans and their reluctance to watch older anime. A lot of us watch older shows, like live action shows, whether they're sitcoms. We also watch old movies, or we'll go back and play old games. And a lot of these old anime, maybe they weren't remastered, but they still look really good, especially like the AAA titles of the 90s and 2000s. All of the OVAs that came out in the 80s still look better than some of the big series that we get today for our seasonals. So I don't know, I feel like anime fans today do themselves a disservice when so much of the content is available to them just like that, but they choose not to watch old series. Go and watch K-On!, go and watch Beck if you like Bochi. Watch all of the older Gundams if you're into Witch from Mercury. Jujutsu Kaisen's alright, but I really do think Yu Yu Hakusho is that series, but better. Himbel Juvo commented on my Aliens Area is Dead video. I missed that series. When this got cancelled, I got flashbacks to Phantom Seer. I really wanted that series to succeed. I'm finding it really hard to get invested in Jump series these days. I fully agree with you, bro. It's extremely hard to invest any sort of time into any of these Jump series. Every single series that comes out, it has those weird tone shifts within the first 18 chapters because it doesn't want to get canceled. It needs to establish characters and a story, and it may not get as many color pages as the other new series. There's so much to go up against when you're working for Shueisha, Weekly Shonen Jump especially. I did some number crunching. I could be wrong, I have to double check, but I believe there's been 20 series over the last 3 calendar years that have started and finished early or were cancelled by Jump. So it's like it's really hard to be invested into any of these series when they don't last long. Nobody wants to have a long running series in Jump anymore. And quite frankly, a lot of the stories aren't that interesting. Ryan is chillin' commented on my Arigato video. Man, I thought this series was just gonna be an eternal deep cut that I'd never see talked about, so thanks for putting it out. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. Read it a few years back, and I felt all that anxiety all over again. I'm glad that the characters made a way for themselves, even though it wasn't the kind of hurrah perseverance in the traditional sense. Absolutely. This was such a touching manga because it starts off so grisly, but it ends up very warm, very melancholy. It has a bittersweet taste to it, but it's a realistic ending. As I get older, I see a lot of family dynamics that kind of fall apart or build themselves back up, and Arigato feels like that. It feels very much like a friend, and you see their family go through a divorce, or they go through something tragic happening to one of the siblings, the family separating, having to sell the house, going through financial difficulties. I haven't gone through all of those things, but I have gone through some of them, so I was able to relate to a bit of Arigato. This is truly one of the best family drama mangas that I've ever read. I recommend everyone read Arigato. I read it every few years or so. I gotta do it again. Onyx Crow in another Vice Hates manga comment. I remember back in 2014 when CNN did the same thing. CNN claimed basically that all anime and manga was child porn. They even asked manga artists about this subject, and they told them art is perceptive and this is fiction, not actual children. Then CNN goes into a manga store and censors a horror manga called Dolls Fall. Oh, what do you know? I reviewed that manga earlier this year. And the cover itself wasn't inappropriate. The video was heavily disliked and criticized to the point where CNN took it down. Okay, so first off, I fucking hate Dolls Fall. I don't think it's a great series, and I think it's pretty quirky with the content. However, it's weird that they would use that as like the poster boy for what they're talking about. But that's why I don't trust modern day journalism, because you have a lot of journalists that work for these companies, but they're not real journalists. They wanted to make it in something else. Maybe it was writing related, but they couldn't get into that field. So they pushed their own agendas and they tried to make every single expose about them instead of the topic at hand. And then they know what their bosses want, so they warp the story into being something so doom and gloom. Anime and manga has been popular for decades. Just because it hit the mainstream recently doesn't mean that all of these corporations weren't making millions of dollars off of these Japanese cartoons for God knows how long. And CNN has known about this. They've done stories on Pokemon, on Dragon Ball Z, on the popularity of overseas comics. So for them to come with like disingenuous bullshit like that, it's very peculiar. And 2015, that makes sense. But to see Vice do that in 2022, it's like, come on, guys. We understand that there's not a lot for you to talk about, and we understand that you're not maybe the best journalist in the world. If you're going to tell a story, if you're going to break an expose, it has to be valid. You have to have like an actual point. You can't just make shit up. On my Earthchild is Dead video, Oliver Douglas came about and said that he'll be watching my career with great interest. Thank you. I just wanted to throw that one in there because I really appreciate comments like that. Thanks, man. Pokemon R commented on my first Duran video. Duran is pretty trash. It fucking was. Honestly, as generic as it is, this would be pretty good if it was adapted into a one-time movie like Promar. Yeah, I think Shonen Jump is doing themselves a disservice by not trying to farm their canceled series, especially series that did have a bit of a fan base. Red Hood is trending right now on anime Twitter because it's getting its English release, and that series was canceled over a year ago. Wild, right? Duran had fans. It did. And I'm pretty sure Earthchild would get a lot of hate purchases as well. It seems like if there's an opportunity to make money with the tankobons and Shueisha still goes in that direction, you mean to tell me you can't do OVAs? Web series for some of these shows? Like Earthchild could be made into a movie. And I think it's a movie that wouldn't do well, but at the same time, you don't need everything to be Demon Slayer. You don't need everything to be Jujutsu Kaisen. There are a lot of canceled manga that could make for decent short running series, and I wish we could see more of that. On my M0 is a cult classic video, Foxtails9 says, I've never seen a YouTuber talk about one of my favorite manga. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate that. M0 is not my favorite series, but it definitely was it was an enjoyable read. And that's kind of what I like to do on my channel. I know a lot of these videos aren't going to get a lot of views, but at the same time, no one's talking about Bitter Virgin, no one's talking about M0, no one's talking about Arigato, but these are great series, and I think they definitely should be viewed. So, why not make a video and maybe 3, 5, 10 people see it over the course of the year and they read a great manga? To me, that's more important than views. Alex Strife 89 had a really great comment about Shonen Jump and Shueisha in general. I hate to break it to you, but giving every series in Jump a lot of chapters to gain their footing just isn't a thing and should never be a thing, even in this day and age. Why? Because if they did, then the magazine would just become Weekly Shonen Sunday. Shots fired. Well, true though. Whereas that magazine follows that philosophy, but the manga from it aren't as good or are as memorable as the titles in Jump. True, true. There are some big hits here and there like Inuyasha and Conan, but that's nothing compared to the plethora of mega hit titles that are remembered for a lifetime from Jump. If they gave Red Hood more of a chance, it would just be a detriment to the magazine. That's why I think the tried and true method of axing really bad, really unpopular series early on is better and will always be better. Alex, I agree with you, but I also disagree with some points. And I should make a video about this. Shueisha is very much a pip factory. Pip factory, for those who don't know, is companies that hire a lot of the highest talent that they can for a role, but it's a very high stakes, high pressure sort of work environment. So even though you are compensated well, you're expected to perform right away. I have worked jobs where the first 3 to 6 months, it really is just to see, do you show up to work on time? Do you understand what you're doing? If so, then we can look past everything else and let you grow in our company. The companies get more money off your back and your labor than what they pay you. So for them, the first 2 or 3 months, if you're not so productive, it's not that big of a deal. When you get to pip factories, however, so Amazon, Groupon, Google, all of these places, they give you 6 weeks to 3 months to figure your shit out. And if you don't, they're going to fire you because they know they have the next Harvard grad who's going to want to apply to this job. They have a lot of people who will drop their entire life just to come move to Silicon Valley and work these pip factories. And for some people that works, but I think where we are today in society, there's more opportunities, but less prestige and maybe not a great job title, but equal, if not more pay if you avoid the big Fortune 500s. And this applies to manga too. I don't know why, in a day and age where you can do all of your marketing for free, why would you want to work for Shueisha? Great magazine, don't get it twisted, they'll do a lot for you, but why would you take an idea that you've been sitting on that you think is going to do well and send it to a magazine that's probably going to cancel it? You're more than likely going to have your series canceled, if not right away, at some point when you work for Shueisha. That's not a good work environment. And the fact that a lot of their editors are archaic with their approaches means that you have a bunch of 20-year-old artists who are upstarts, who are talented, but all of the sudden they're being told that, nope, you gotta shift the tonality of your series because these 15-year-old boys aren't really into you having girls that don't get sexually assaulted every other chapter. We need a harem. We need a different villain. We need to have a fake out death. All of this bullshit that every single Weekly Shonen Jump series has to adhere to within their early chapters. And it's like, why put yourself through that? Especially if you know you're a talented artist. If Shueisha wants to publish your shit in their magazine, believe me, Kodansha wants you. Shigakukan wants you. All of these other magazines would absolutely love to have you. If not, you be independent and do your own thing. So Alex, yes, I do agree with you. If a series is shitty, it's shitty, and in a high pressure but amazing magazine like Weekly Shonen Jump, you need to be performing at a high level. But I also think a lot of times these creators are put in unfair situations and they really have no choice but to listen to their editors, otherwise they get their shit canceled. On my Digibro Changed My Life video, Vermin Spencer, by the way, thank you for commenting on so many of my videos and watching my content. I appreciate you. I don't remember his videos because it's been a long time since I last watched them, but he had nice reviews and vids. Also, the drama surrounding him made me distance myself from his channel and content. Yeah, it's unfortunate because Trixie is a great creator. I still watch Trixie stuff every once in a while. I have another Trixie video that's in the bag. But yeah, just seeing the drama destroy the channel. It's so unfortunate because, certain creators just get it in their head that YouTube is my life. It's not. It's not. Yeah, for a lot of people who become YouTubers, it is a life-changing moment for them, and it's a phase that can bring in a lot of attention and money. But ultimately, if you're putting your business out there and you're creating drama on the platform for clicks, or if you're just kind of leaning into the environment that other creators are putting you into, that has real life ramifications. Once the video ends, once people get over the drama, once we kind of lose interest in the bullshit, you still have to deal with the fact that your partner left you. And people on the internet have multiple videos about you and your questionable behavior and your strange stances on content. And Trixie went on a bunch of podcasts trying to be the contrarian, trying to push up the drama. I think Trixie really wanted to be the Keemstar of AniTube, which is okay. I kind of see that, and I lean into my own sort of character as well with my channel. But notoriety and infamy is something that you shouldn't use to grow. You should lean into it when you can, but when you try to become a villain, when you try to be that guy, it doesn't really work. And especially for someone like Trixie. Trixie's not that girl, you know what I mean? She's not able to command that sort of negative attention and turn it around to grow an audience the same way Jake Paul or Keemstar or Conor McGregor or any of those people are. And that personality was very popular around the time of the drama. So Vermin, I don't blame you for separating yourself from that drama. It was just a bunch of bullshit. On my Earthchild video, El Cherry said, I have never seen a series that completely squandered any emotional impact it had in the first chapter as fast as Earthchild did. I was hoping it would be about an ordinary father trying to raise and protect his powerful but clearly dangerous kid from a tragic fate, but nope. Gotta be crammed in a convoluted plotline and bonker tonal shifts that feel like the story is going at 100 mph. Absolutely fucking true. The first chapter of Earthchild is one of the best chapters, one of the best openings for a manga that I have ever read, and I periodically go back to read it. It's a really good premise. 5 years, 10 years from now, maybe they revisit the series. Maybe they take a different approach. I don't know, but it's such a wasted opportunity. And they really could have turned it around. Like, there were so many points where Earthchild could have really turned it around and gotten back to like what that initial vibe was. But when you put so much effort and thought into just the first chapter, into just pulling people in, that's the Shueisha problem, because now you don't have an ongoing story for people to look forward to. We want similar highs based off of what we saw in the first chapter, and if we never revisit those tones, then why am I invested in your series? Why do I care to listen to what you have to say? I don't give a fuck about any of these characters aside from the main couple. I hated the kid, I hated the NASA crew, I hated the enemies. They were all bullshit. Earthchild should have been a small scale family drama with larger than life characters. That's what it should have been. They should have made it grounded. Instead, they wanted to go fast, quick. They wanted to have melodrama every single chapter. They wanted a cliffhanger. That is not how you tell a story. That is not how you write a manga. Earthchild was such a fucking disappointment. Growing on AniTube is an uphill battle is an older video. I think that's maybe 2 years old. I used to do a lot of interviews on my channel, and I do want to do more of them. It's just I wanted to try something different. It's a fantastic video, of course it is, because I did it, thank you. Especially on the concept of what the return on investment is for each new video that is put out both in the space and on a creator's individual channel. I don't really watch too much of AniTube myself unless it's on a favorite anime of mine or if I'm researching of a video and seeing what videos have been made on that particular topic, so I feel out of touch with whatever beef there is between creators and whatnot. And maybe it's better that way. Thanks for the topic though, you deserve a sub for it. Thank you for watching, I appreciate that. I know videos like that my analytics show, and I know they're hard to sit through the entire thing. I think it's a very important topic for people who create anime. After all, we're repurposing already made assets, and we have to basically fight with an algorithm that doesn't support you reviewing your favorite anime if it wasn't popular with the season. If it's an older anime, you may not get views unless it's a popular old anime, and even then, it may not be as evergreen as you would like it to be. Doing AniTube, you have to just love anime. You have to like the video making process. You have to like writing scripts. You have to like editing videos, talking into cameras, and doing all of that stuff. There's a lot more that goes into being a successful AniTuber than there is in other fields. I've seen some low effort videos from really great personalities that shine through, and that makes sense. But I've seen people who put in a lot of high production value. They have a strong personality. They worked hard on their script, and they never grow. They maybe never reach past 10,000 subscribers. So at what point do you stop with the hobby and you start doing something else? With anime, it's just really hard to grow. I don't think that's going to be the case forever. I think there will be a number of anitubers that will be able to transcend the barriers of growth that come with creating on this platform. But right now, yeah, it's there's just a lot of external factors you have to deal with. Nitwit's World says Shonen Jump is going to die anyway after One Piece ends. They will be fucked in the next 40 years, less than 40. I think they have until 2030 before the magazine is done. Like seriously, the physical copies will always exist. I just don't see why they wouldn't push everything towards Jump Plus. Like, I think of my nephews. I'm making a video on this as well. I think of my nephews. They read the same manga as me, but they've never owned a tankobon in their life. They've seen it in the library, but they have never bought in a tankobon. I think my generation is the last generation to really buy manga. I'll pay for the app. I think that's better for me. I don't really care about having posters on my wall from Weekly Shonen Jump. I don't really care about collecting the color pages as much as I used to. I have a screenshot on my phone of one of my favorite manga, and to me, I see that more often than spending $50 on a special edition poster that realistically people are only going to see if I hang it up behind me on a video. And tankobons, it's the same thing. If you don't have a manga shelf in the back of your video, I know your credibility is being questioned. At the same time, I know a lot of kids who are really into manga and they're the next ones up, but they've never owned physical copies. So what's Shonen Jump supposed to do? How do you market to these kids, especially internationally? You have to put all of your attention towards your app. And, Weekly Shonen Jump, can they stand out from the rest if they're doing app-based releases? I'm not sure. I don't have all the answers, but it is a great point, and I do agree with you. Here's another old video. Tagashi is lying. He doesn't care about Hunter x Hunter. I don't think he does. Knitter says, you guys need to chill out. The man Tagashi is 56 years old. He's pushing 60. He's also made 20 chapters in 2 months. That's more than a Mandela can make in 3 months. Okay, so look, I don't fuck around with shonen tarts at all. I think you guys are one of the smoothest brained fans of any sort of media out there. The fact that all y'all keep on throating Togashi's dick so hard, it's like, wow, really? Oh my god, call Flanvia because he could totally use you for reference material. I love Hunter. I really do think it's a great series. I like Togashi's work, but a lot of the shit that he does, which was things that I was complaining about in that video, they are valid complaints. If you read Yu Yu Hakusho, you would have seen the exact same flaws that are apparent in Hunter x Hunter from like early on with that manga. I think Togashi is a great artist, but I don't really see him as a manga artist. I just see him as an artist who creates manga, which is why he takes his time with these series. I will continue to be critical towards Tagashi and towards Shueisha because, as I mentioned earlier, they treat their artists like shit. All of the new artists coming in have to deal with all of these external factors that, quite frankly, is unfair and creates a toxic work environment. Every time Tagashi decides to stop being lazy and bring Hunter back into the magazine, another series gets cancelled. And I'm not saying those series don't deserve to get cancelled, but Aliens Area should have gotten at least one more tankobon to figure out what it needed to do with its story. I think about Anidoki, which was cancelled because of Hunter as well. Every time Hunter comes back into the magazine, it eliminates a job for somebody else. And these newer artists, they don't get contracts as favorable as what the legacy mangaka have gotten. So I'm always going to be critical towards Tagashi. I'm not insulting the man's character. I'm not saying anything that nobody else has said who's been reading manga for more than the last 5 years. I just think like comments like this are completely reflective on the fact that you guys don't understand. This is a product. This is a consumable product. I know we love anime and manga and shit, but like look at it pragmatically here. Togashi comes back to the magazine when he wants to generate more money for Hunter, and he has a long-term contract. Even though he owns the IP completely, there's no incentive for him to publish it on his own. Shueisha will do all of the heavy lifting. Shueisha has no reason to stop employing Togashi, so they're going to hold on to him forever. But when you play that sort of favorites with an author and you have other authors who are struggling week in, week out to make the deadline, that to me doesn't sit well. So expect to see more slander towards these lazy mangaka. I don't need to chill at all. Here's another old video. Modern anime sucks. What makes classic anime stand out? Arttronic says the problem is color compositioning. It makes modern anime look like plastic and crystal, not like real life human world. Yeah, it's true. Every anime needs to be glossy and clean, and they all have a very similar aesthetic. Now, with AI art becoming a thing and AI art only has like a particular aesthetic, I truly do expect to see all of the digitally created anime just go in that direction. Find the most homogenous style that is attractive to the general audience and get that out there. Which, you know, if it works, it works. But I don't know. There used to be a uniqueness with anime. I used to watch 3 or 4 anime that were new to that season, and they all looked distinctively different from one another. And now we have anime that you can't tell if it was made in 2017 or 2023 because they all have that glossy sheen to it, and it doesn't look good. I'm sorry. I just don't think it looks good. All right. Let's get to the Gachiakuta comments. I thought this was just another video to garner clicks out of an outrageously unpopular opinion, but you make some good points. But the reason of it being way too generic doesn't apply to me personally, since I just like watching the same premise done in different themes, styles, etc. Yeah, man, yeah, I agree. Gachiakuta is fun. It's a fun series, it's entertaining. It just does a lot of things poorly. And I think Kiyurana should be a much better mangaka than she is. I know I villainize her so often, but I do it because well, I villainize other shitty mangaka. But I don't know. I just see someone who is capable of doing well and they just never reach those highs. And people are so blinded by the potential, they don't realize the train wreck that's happening right then and there in front of them. Of course, until it's too late. Mel Mellon, thank you. I've seen you around. Appreciate the comment. Thank you for watching the video. On my clueless first friend says, finally, someone knows about this manga. It really is just a nice story to read, relax, and turn off your brain to because it's just a chill, wholesome story about kids being kids. Yeah, this manga is going to be big, and the anime I think is also going to be well received. My clueless first friend reminds me of the early 2000s slice of life because it's so innocent. It's exactly like what you said. It's just about kids being kids. It's not trying to do anything different. It's not trying to be aimed towards solely children. And I think the reason why my clueless first friend is such an unheralded gem is because the mangaka previously did what's it called, like Repeat a Year, I believe it's called Repeat a Year. I started it, I haven't finished it, but it's a solid manga that's very ecchi. It is high school based and it's teenagers acting in a harem setting. So I think them knowing what it takes to succeed with a popular tropey manga, but applying it to a very easy to read, digestible manga that is aimed at a demographic that isn't familiar with the mangaka's previous works, that's an interesting combination for success. Risky, definitely. But hell, Clueless First Friend is becoming an anime, so it definitely paid off. Great series. Another old comment, AniTube is set up to fail. Anime U says, this is one of the biggest reasons why I feel conflicted about making anime movie reviews, as there's hardly any views in this part of AniTubing. I definitely had to rework myself and my videos. What I would suggest is still make those videos, just make them periodically. This way, when you have the content that you absolutely love, that's the content you're working hard towards, it makes it easier to make the content you need to grow. You know, I don't really want to make Chainsaw Man videos. I love Chainsaw Man. I think it's a great series. I just don't want to make my channel into a fucking Chainsaw Man channel. I don't want subscribers I get through Chainsaw Man to expect me to always make that sort of content when realistically I would only make that content every once in a while. I've seen some great AniTubers basically become Berserk channels or Chainsaw Man or Jujutsu Kaisen channels or Bleach channels now that it's back. And I get it, it works, and I would encourage anyone to do the same thing. But I see your reluctance to do it. Anime movies are very difficult to get a lot of views from unless they're movie adaptations of popular series. So I wish I could give you more advice, but just know that I agree with you. I've thought about this a lot before. Kids zap on my clueless first friend. That's the thing about being a child. You don't know any better, and when someone tells you something, you take that something to heart and believe it to be real. For example, when I was young, I used to think that Pluto was still part of the solar system, and this was after 2006 when it got demoted. I think Pluto came back. I'm not sure. I remember that era. I was in high school when that whole thing happened. But yeah, again, Clueless First Friend, the fact that it's just kids being kids, that's what makes the show so strong. And these are relatable lessons that these kids learn as well. It's so cute to just see bullies not be able to get their way, partially because the MC is a moron, but also because just having thick skin as a child and enjoying the joys of life is so much better than dwelling on some bullshit someone has to say. I wish I could still be like that. I wish there were lessons from kids' cartoons that us adults were able to apply to our real life, but oh well. How Internet Pit Stop discovered anime. Carter Grant says, I've literally been watching him since 5.3K. I made an account just to sub to this man. I purposely put this comment here because I wanted to do a humble brag. I have been watching Internet Pit Stop since he had 98 subscribers. Him and I were pushing our content in 2021 on Aogi's Discord server, and I came across his content. I absolutely loved it. And I sent him an email and said, yo, I would love if you can do an interview with me. And at the time, I think when we did do the interview, he had maybe 400 or 500 subscribers. Unfortunately, it got lost in the mix. I do have it up now. When this video goes up, I think the whole interview should be up too, because fortunately we were able to get the raw of it. But yeah, Internet Pit Stop is amazing. He's such a talented creator, and IP is just a good dude. He's someone who has taken the time to get to where he is today, and that's why his numbers have been fucking bonkers over the last few months. Believe me, he is going to be an amazing creator that's going to transcend AniTube, that's going to transcend the video game circles. Look out for him. And, you know, I just like to say I was right about him from early on. Here's a good one. 637 Gabe says, if you're so damn insightful on good manga, why not write your own? Well, first off, thank you for recognizing my ability when it comes to recognizing great manga. I have a very big inflated ego, and I do know I have amazing taste when it comes to media. So, thank you for recognizing that. Would I do my own manga? I would. I can't draw for shit. I can storyboard, and I think I'm a great writer. But if there was a talented artist and we had the time and we had chemistry, yeah, I would love to try and make a manga. And I know it would be a lot better than that pile of shit Gachiakuta. Julian Pete really went in on me, and I wanted to actually dedicate this part of the video solely to him because he reminds me of me back when I was a young shonen tard. Being a contrarian doesn't make you a literary genius. First of all, you clearly are trying to get clout from this drama because your channel doesn't have a lot of subs. Second, Gachi is growing fast on Twitter, so I'm confused what you mean by it's fading. Third, all of the larger YouTube channels are covering Gachi, so I still don't know what you mean when the fanbase is large and still growing. What a horrible review. Julian, I can tell that you're young. I'm not really a semantics guy at all, but I just feel the points that you're making don't make sense, and I don't understand where you're coming from. You're trying to tear down my video or my content, which is fine, you have every right to, but you're not propping up your stance on Gachiakuta. And I wanted to single out your comment because it's not just the Lucario in your display picture, thus revealing that you're a young shonen tard, but I was like you when I was young. I remember when Mirai Nikki and Deadman Wonderland and Air Gear and Tenjo Tenge were these edgy series that seemed like they were more than surface level, and there was a lot to them visually, but the story just wasn't there. And unfortunately, you can't wrap up a pile of shit and gift it to somebody and say it's a piece of gold. It just doesn't work like that. And Gachiakuta, as I said, it has so many highs, but Kiyorana is unable to capitalize on the things that she's good at, instead always trying to reach for what she thinks her audience would like. Bro, the ecchi in the last few chapters of Gachi reveals how weak of a writer she is, because she never used ecchi in the 35 previous chapters, but she's using it now. It screams someone who's being told by their editor, we need to pick up attention. The readership doesn't really like this. Higher ups say we need to get some sort of like visual appeal into the manga. She should have been able to write that into her manga earlier on. Instead, Gachiakuta has done barely anything with its story. Think about it this way. Gachiakuta is sitting at 40 chapters, just under 40 chapters right now. Let's say you were to adapt Gachiakuta into an anime. Just a 13 episode anime. How much would you adapt? Where would you stop? And if you showed that anime, which I guess would be the 38, 40 chapters that exist now, if you showed that 13 episode anime to somebody, do you think they'd be into Gachiakuta? This is a convoluted story that doesn't really do anything unique or interesting, despite promising that it would. Though the Wasteland Abyss setting doesn't work because we rarely get to see the environment of the Abyss. We have an evil organization that we don't care for, and we have a good organization that we do care for, but we very rarely see any of the characters. In fact, every single character in this series exists solely to engage with Rudo. What the fuck? Why? You mean to tell me they never had a life before? They never had interactions or tension with one another before Rudo got there? You have all of these great, interesting, well-designed characters, but at no point in time are they ever given any shine. And the Gachiakuta fans continue to say, give us some time, it's new, give us some time, it's new. It's been 40 fucking chapters, it's been 4 tankobon. At what point do we say a series just isn't that good? Now, I'm not saying Gachiakuta is the worst manga I've read. I wouldn't even put it in my bottom 5. But the way that you defend this series is very similar to how many others have been defending Gachiakuta, not just in YouTube comments, but also what I've seen on Discord and what I've seen on Twitter. You guys aren't talking about the uniqueness of the story. You're not talking about Kiyorana's attempts to create a two-style manga in a weekly setting, which has rarely been done, especially at such a high successful level. I've been in the trenches for a very long time. I've seen many series like Gachiakuta come and go, and the thing is, this series has the potential to be the next big thing, like every other AniTuber is saying. But the thing is, every AniTuber is not pointing out what I'm pointing out. They want to focus on all of the good and make it seem like this is a perfect series, when in reality, Gachiakuta is just poor storytelling told through a shonen filter. And I'm going to keep on reviewing Gachiakuta, and I'm going to keep on talking shit, because you can't rely on any of the other Gachi AniTubers to have an objective viewpoint of this series. Massman recently put out a video for Gachi. I think it has like 300k views, maybe more. It's a good video for him, but as much as I like Massman, I did not feel his video at all. Like, what was the point of that video? It just seemed like he needed to put out something, and this is like the popular manga right now to talk about, so I'll put it out. And good for him, right? Like, him and Algi have been talking about Gachi. There are a number of other Gachiakuta AniTubers that I do watch, but I just, like I mentioned, I'm not getting that objective viewpoint. And even the fans in comments, you guys aren't saying anything objective about this series. It's not that good. I don't feel very good about reading it, and the fan base doesn't even know why they like it. But then again, when I was a 15-year-old shonen tard, I didn't know why I thought Deadman Wonderland and Tenjo Tenge were some of the greatest manga out there. I just thought, ooh, cool. Art and violence? This has to be great. And that's about it, guys. I'm so grateful for everyone coming onto my channel. I want more people to engage with my content. I'm going to stretch out with my content as well this year. I really appreciate everyone watching this video. I appreciate everyone commenting, and I'm looking forward to what we do next year. Take care, guys.